Call special meeting to order June the 4th, 5:30 for a budget workshop. Any citizen comments? If we have any citizen comments, we'll limit 3 minutes, one turn per person. Okay, new business, 2025 budget workshop.
Okay, so attached to your packet are pretty much the core numbers of our city budget. The first page is pretty much the general information of how much money we have in each of the bank account and how many bank account we have. Also the bonds and lease payments that we are currently obligated to pay. So as you can see, our total budget or our total amount that we have available as a city is $4,085,021.51. But as you can see, that 2.1 million of that is in CD, so that is not available for us to use. So the total number that is available for us for all the department to use is 1.4 million down toward the middle of the page. That is the number as of the 31st of last year. So if you look at this number right here, 1.4, payrolls, account payables, and everything that we have to pay payroll is average about $60,000 per month, and account payable is average about $80,000 per month. So about 150,000 come out pretty much every month out of that 1.4 million. So this total amount of cash that is available, it get reimbursed monthly from the utility bills that people pay, and we deposit back in. It's a little, once we get to the general fund, it's gonna get a little bit more confusing, and if you guys think I'm going too fast, stop me, ask me question anytime. That's pretty much it. Like the first page is pretty cut and dry of how much we have and stuff like that. The next,
How many years are left on the nitrate removal? Like 5 or 6?
that is, we'll get to that.
It's on there. Okay.
Yep, it's toward the bottom of the page. So the next page is our CDs and investment that we currently have as a city. We have two with the Equity Bank, and the rest of it is in St. John National or SJN. The interest rates are pretty comparable on both banks, I thought, and it's renewed pretty much every year, and all of the interest that we collected go into general fund, except the two from the Equity Bank. One is go into the Smith Fund and the Witt Fund. And then Cornwall also have a CD that they donated to the city, and that's also stay in the Cornwall Fund and to be available to use for the Cornwall Park.
Can that be renewed at a higher interest rate?
No, I don't know that for sure. I don't know it's depending on. Usually when the maturity date comes, up, then the bank will call and would be like, hey, we have a better rate here. You want to move it and stuff like that, and we usually do that. And I don't know the structure, of the CD itself to where like we can get a better rate.
Where is the Cornwall at? Which one is the Cornwall?
It's down here, 6.65%, everything else is 3.
Yeah. Yep, so I will check on that to make
Blended
sure.
right in with general fund.
Yes.
Yeah, it does look almost the same.
It does.
I bet that was a mistake that it got renewed at, because that would have just matured.
Right.
I think you might check on it, cause I would've thought it would've been renewed with the others.
And remember, this information are at the end of last
This
year.
is from
Oh,
So-
December.
maybe,
Yep,
So it might be different today than it is.
correct, yep, I will
Oh,
check
yeah,
on
just
that
check.
just to make sure.
I don't know why it would be different than the others, I guess.
Yeah, I noticed that, cause the year before, this was, not 3, but I remember this was 1 point something, and then it went down to 0.65. But yes, I will check on this.
You might check on
Might check on
0.85
that.
as well
Yeah,
with equity.
the Whit Memorial.
I bet it was, if it's a 2-year CD and the maturity date, I bet it was renewed right before
Before
the
interest rates
uptick
started
in
going up.
rates, so I would think that would be increasing, that would be repriced when it matures
Yes.
at the end of June.
Is there a reason our terms are always 1 year instead of just doing longer and higher rates, especially while rates are high now? Or can we
mean,
talk
it's
about doing
always,
it
yeah, we can
longer and getting better
definitely
rates while they're really high right now?
get a,
Yeah, we could get a blend of some.
Yeah, just kind of, we
Different
don't want to
years.
tie everything up for 5 years, but if we could kind of mix it in. Do some-
Some of them might think you could sure stretch out.
I mean, is there a difference? Is there a big difference between like a 5-year, a 3-year, 1 year as rates go right now?
I don't know if I want all of them to be 3 years though, just
No.
in
No, I'm
case.
saying, yeah, but have a mixture in there where we're getting some higher rates.
No, I don't think there'd be a huge difference if we wanted to go out a little further than 1 year.
Probably worth just checking.
Yep, I can do that. So, yep, that's pretty much, I mean, it's cut and dry as far as interests go. It's, like I said, all go into general fund except those 3 CDs that go into individual funds. These CDs, obviously, like the Whit Memorial Fund, the CD was donated with the building, with the Whit Center. And I believe that it has to be in there, like we can't pull out the principal for another 5 years. And after the 5 years, then we have a choice to whether pull it out, use it on the building, or keep it in there and just keep drawing interest. So. That's it. The next page have the details of all of the loans, leases, bonds, and contracts and agreements that we are currently obligated to pay. And in here, I also put the term of the loans and also when the ending date will be. The
Swimming pool's supposed to be 2027.
Yes.
That's a 4 year.
Yep. I mean, that's it, and we're obviously already talked about all of this, loans and leases that we have, and the money are already budgeted in for payments. So do you guys have any question as far as, this page go?
Just the swimming pool ending date should be 27 probably, assuming we did 4 years, or did you do a 3 year?
We did a 4-year, that's
So
for
that
sure,
would
I
be
must
27.
mistype it.
That's fine.
And we're coming up on the water tower repair agreement. That's 2 more years and then we'll be done with that, which I guess it doesn't really matter because there's no interest on it. I was gonna say we can use that water, capital improvement water, just to pay it off and be done with it. But since the interest's already fixed in there, there's really no point.
I don't think it was a very high rate.
Mhm.
I don't think when we set that up. I don't know, maybe
I
I
think
guess
it
I
was
don't.
like 1 point
That's
something,
what I was gonna say,
1.3
1 or 2 or
maybe,
something.
yeah,
but-
if I remember correctly. So, yep, Yep, that's pretty much what we have so far. We did acquire quite a bit of contracts and loan the last 2 years. 2 years before that, all we have is the nitrate plant. Obviously, stuff comes up to where, you know, require us to have bonds, agreements, and contracts and stuff like that. So, as far as the fund available to pay these, we're fine. It's already budgeted into out this year, and it will be next year, so we're good here. The 1% sales tax for the grocery store will end in 2027 as well. When the contract with the grocery store ends, that's also the end of 1% sales tax. By then, you guys have a choice to, you know, put it back on the ballot and see if you want to, if the citizen want to continue to, for us to collect that to use it for infrastructures or, you know, like the developments of the cities and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's quite a bit a long way, but just keep in mind that that's coming up.
What does the 1% bring in a year?
The 1%
Is it
is
further
down
in?
here.
Okay,
Yep,
we'll
it's
talk about
further
that later.
down.
That's
So, I put a little the RNR rates, which we have so many questions last year, and I wasn't involved much with this, so I wasn't able to get you guys a lot of answers. So I figured that this would be the easiest way to kind of explain of how the RNR rates, you know, like how they what they're based out of and how they come up with that number. If you guys remember last year, our rate was 62.473, and we passed the resolution to exceed that because we need to levy more taxes for our general fund. This year, the county hasn't give us like the assessed values of the city as a whole yet, so the accountant does not know what our rate will be just yet. So we'll have to wait on that, and in the meantime, I can always send what I have to her. But before we get that rate from the county, we're not gonna know if we need to, how much we have to budget for like general fund and water and lights and stuff like that. So this is just your information alone. And below this, I mean, like halfway down the page, I kind of put the timeline of what we, if we want to exceed the rate this year again, just to get a little bit more money, because further down you'll see that in general fund we spent quite a bit of money the last 2 years. That's why I'm like, let's wait on the road work and let's build the cash back up a little bit. It might not hurt depending on what the rate is this year to exceed again, maybe one more year, just to kind of build the cash back up, and maybe we can lay it off after. But I mean, it's just a guessing game right now. So yeah, if you guys want to look at it, I already have these dates down on my calendars, and then once I get the rate, we will revisit and see what we want to do, and we'll make sure not to rush it like we did last year.
And I think if I remember right, because I came in June when everything was pretty much established.
Yes.
You know, but if I remember right, looking through the Kansas documents on revenue neutral rate, your R&R is based on not the previous budget year that you're budgeting for, but 2 years previous. So like our 2025 revenue neutral rate is based on how much money we brought in 2023. And so since we went above the revenue neutral rate for our 2024 numbers, I don't remember what the number was or what we said we brought
It's
in.
68.
68, but like I guess the actual cash that we brought in from that levy.
The actual cash was 535.
Yeah, so the tax revenue collected in 2023 was 535. Well, that's interesting. So why would that? Oh, because the revenue neutral rate isn't based on
So
I
it
guess I'm
based on
confused
what we bring in, you know, prior to the year that we're budgeted
But we
for.
brought in less than the years previous, but we went above revenue neutral rate, so I guess I'm confused by that.
Well, the 62 is the rate that it was set for our city based on what we brought in and stuff like that. And then we passed the resolution to exceed this 62. So we levy at 68.032, I believe, which bring more money to our general fund.
Okay, well, I guess I was going somewhere and I'm not entirely sure
And
what I was.
well, you and I can talk later too. And
Yeah.
I could have been wrong too, but that's how the accountant was kind of explaining to me. Because I have so many questions about this, because obviously it's still new to everybody. Like at the top, it said that it just come to play in 2021. So, but I would definitely check on that, and you and I can get together. And if you have more question, I can always call the accountant.
Yeah, I might have to relook at that because it's been a while since I looked at it, but I do remember it saying that it's based on not the very previous year, but the year before that is what that R&R rate is based off of. And so it's kind of like 2 years lagging, which is hard when inflation is really big for 2 years to then be referencing a revenue neutral rate that isn't even like reflecting what's happened in the short term that's exploded, you know? So I do remember looking at that last year and kind of going, well, that's not even like a fair assessment because we're looking at 2022 for 2024 budget numbers.
It's a guessing game pretty much.
So I think last year the safe play was just to go ahead and exceed it, wasn't it, to make sure we.
Yeah.
Right.
We actually reduced the levy number, but because property values went up so
Yeah.
much,
Right.
we reduced the levy number but increased the cash intake.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. So if you look at the general fund page in 2021, our rate was set at 70.444. So that's because the assessed value from the county was up the last 2 years. So the rate in 2022 and 23 was lower, so that way it's even out the
We've
amount.
been taking a lesser percentage of the assessed values,
Correct.
but we've been taking more money.
Correct. That's pretty much
Yeah.
the nutshell of it. Yeah. And on the general fund page, you can kind of see I put down how much we brought into that year from the previous year, and how much tax we had levied and how much tax was available to us. Also, the miscellaneous revenue that we collected throughout the year. You know, obviously this is really low comparing to Water and Light Fund. Excuse me. There's also transfers from Water and Light to General Fund to help with the breeding room as far as budget go, because as you can see there is 11 departments in General Fund, and the General Fund did not get reimbursed monthly like Water and Light does. It's very important that especially our department head understand that just because we have 1.4 million in our bank account ready to use, that does not mean we have that in a general fund available for them. Because like, let's say if the police department brought a new vehicle, Jason bought a new loader, and you know, everybody just took a big chunk of general fund, by like September, you only have $200,000 left. You know, that's not going to be enough to get us through. And also there is a budget authority that we have to be mindful of how much we can spend, especially in general fund, because we only get big chunks from the tax that we levy each year, and then a little bit out of the general fund. And miscellaneous revenues, that's, you know, ups and down depending on what we got going on that year, if we have donations or reimbursement from somebody. It's very, I always kind of it made me nervous when we talk about street works or if we want to buy equipment for streets and stuff like that. Obviously, it needed to be done, but I would say if you're thinking about doing something with the general fund, like as far as big project go, I would limit that maybe 1 or 2 a year, and give us, you know, like a little bit of breathing room to build the cash or save the cash. And at the same time, the transfer from water and light could have been bigger as well to give us a little bit more breathing room, but obviously the CAT generator in that project costs a lot of our water and light fund. So we weren't able to transfer as much as I wanted to. But it's just that, just, yeah, general fund is pretty iffy. Really, if you look at it, the big reimbursement came from the taxes, which is 500,000, and that's pretty much it. And if you, like, let's say if you come at the end of 2024, you come in at $250,000, you only have, not counting the miscellaneous revenue, because you know you can't count on that. You don't know how much you're gonna get because it's just a little miscellaneous here and there. You're only gonna come up at like $700 and something thousand for you to use for that whole year. If we don't, like, if we can't somehow we can't transfer, if we don't have enough fund from water and light to transfer into general, and that's all you got, and we can't obviously spend more than 700 whatever X amount for that general fund. And you know, we have, like I said, 11 departments that obviously things needed done and stuff like that.
The miscellaneous revenue, what all is,
So
that's the 1%?
no,
No?
the 1% actually go into its own fund.
Okay.
So the miscellaneous is like tickets that the police department writes, interest from the CDs, sales tax that we get from the state, from the county. The county does that 1% sales tax from the county that charge into utility bills come back to us, and that go into the general fund. So
Was the increase in revenue from 22 to 23 probably interest?
no, the increase like this in 2023 is so much because there is that 100,000 for the pool that was in there, because
Oh,
we put it in at the end of the year, and we couldn't, obviously we didn't spend it, so it stays in a general fund.
okay, so that was a capital injection from that
Yes.
loan we took, okay.
Yes, yep. So that's why it's so much, but as you can see, it's average out about like 140 at the most. So just, yeah, especially like, Jason, when he, like, you know, the pool projects, that worries me because it's like a money pit and it's in a general fund, and I just don't know what's the best solution is for that as far as funds go, you know. But we can always divide it between the 1% and the general fund, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But this is pretty much the nutshell of the general fund. And down here, I break it down into each department: the wages, contractual services, commodities. The wages, I calculate the proposed budget for next year. I added pretty much the 3% of what the employee's already making now. I added that to the 25 proposed budget. So in the 10-11, I lower it because that's the budget that we pay Jamie out of, and obviously I'm not making what Jamie's making, so there's no need to raise it up. The contractual or commodities, I pretty much base that off of like the market price, the economy, or and then what we spent last year. So obviously, if we go like 10,000 over gas or fuel and stuff like that, then I raise that up, and I might have to lower, like, let's say, equipment repair or uniforms or something like that. So I kind of play around with that number, and obviously these numbers are not set in stone until we get the R&R rate, and then the accountant, I have to send this number over to her. She looked everything over to make sure we have the budget authority and we have the cash available to do that before the final number can be presented to you guys for you guys to approve. Do you guys have any questions regarding general fund? Jason, do you have any questions? That's pretty much all of your department. I mean, as you can see, in 2022, we spent quite a bit of money in 21. That at the end of 21, we come into 22 at 281,000, which it's a lot lower than I wanted it to be. It makes me a little nervous just in case of emergencies and stuff like that. Obviously, it's gonna take more than a couple of years to recoup or get it to where I think we should be, which is around 350,000. I think if we can end the year with that, that would be my goal. So. Alright, so the next fund is the library fund. We don't do a lot with this, so basically we are the middleman as far as the library fund go. The county, we levy the tax, and part of that taxes is for the library. So when they sent the money over, we basically just cut the library a check, and that's it. We're pretty much the middleman. And that's just how, I don't know why they can't just cut the check to the library directly. I never could get the direct answer for that. But that's just how the city is obligated to do it, since the library is the public service to the community. So that's pretty much it for the library fund. The special highway fund, the revenue that we receive it quarterly from the state, and that I have no idea what they base their amount that they sent out of. I have emailed that to the accountant as well. She's looking into that to see what are the rates and stuff like that. But this is where most of the road work money will come out of, basically. And since we didn't do road work this year, we'll have a lot more to carry over to next year, and we'll be able to do a lot more. Maybe we can, when we do road work next year, we can add curb and gutter, if we have enough money to do that, because as all of you know, curb and gutters are pretty needed in our town. We'll have a little bit more fun to start working on that, if that's something that you're wanting to do. So special park is pretty much set up the same way as the special highway. The funds come from the state, but this fund, when they send it, we split it between the alcohol tax and the special park tax. So like, let's say we get $1,000 from them, 500 will go to the alcohol tax, and then in general fund, and then the other half will go to the parks. And I believe I asked this, and I believe there is statute that govern of why we have to split the money. but I can't remember exactly. I'll have to look of why it has to be this way. But yeah, and that's pretty much it. We obviously, the average amount that we've gotten is around $3,000 per year, so it's not very much. So I try not to spend any of this money out of this fund because I want to save it to redo the fountain, because it really needed to be done before long, before it's too far gone for us to save.
So we're bringing in 3,000. So the 2024 budget is showing $12,000, but we're not going to spend any, and that's why 2025 is 15,000, because we're not actually going to spend any of the 12, and we're going to get about 3,000.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
So we're not expecting to spend 12 in 24 and
No.
spend 15 in 2025.
No. Yeah. And whatever we don't spend, we can carry it over to the next year and build that fund up as well.
Well, have we used this, like when we have used this fund, what can we spend?
2 years ago, we pay for the mulch. Not 2 years ago, it's a while back. The mulch for the playground.
In Brown Park?
Yep, for the Brown Park, and then we pay for a bunch of the, we bought some trees for the Cornwell, that came out of this as well. But other than that, I'm pretty possessive of this fund. Just because I think the fountain really need our attention. There later on in equipment reserve fund, there is also a line in there for park. So I figure between this fund and the equipment reserve fund for park, we should have enough money to get the fountain redone, and not having to, like, let's say, borrow money from this fund and to, you know, like, not having to dip into other funds to do that.
What does redoing the fountain entail?
So the top part is done. I had it completely scraped down, sandblast everything inside and out. Turns out the first company that did it 2 years ago did not sandblast the inside, so there was rust on the inside that finally eat out all the paint, and that's what the rust that you see out there right now. So the process is take them all down, sandblast everything inside and out, scrape all the paint off, repair some of the if you see the second tiers have, like, some of it's already missing or falling out, the metal part, so that I kind of wanting that replaced as well, as close to the original as we can, and then repaint it. But
Do you have quotes on? I'll say, do you have quotes on this? What's
yeah, so the whole thing, when I have the bid, like for the boys, the umbrella and everything, was 30. But since the boy and the umbrella is done, I don't know how much it's gonna be just for the rest.
because we paid to have that done.
Right.
We spent a lot of money and it didn't last long.
Yeah.
So you know for a fact that the boy and the umbrella was done properly?
Well, I'm
Or are we just
testing it
assuming?
right
Oh,
now,
okay.
and I have him show me when I went and picked it up
Oh,
to
okay.
make sure that, like, the inside's actually, like, cause when we took the boy down, I actually climbed up the ladder and looked inside the fountain, and yeah, the inside was all rusted out. There was no paint whatsoever on the inside of that fountain. So I make sure I'm testing out the boy and the umbrella right now just to see if it will last this season and maybe this winter. And if it does, to where, like, there's no rust or anything coming out, then I might ask your permission to get the rest of the fountain done.
Who did you have to do that?
It's Stryker Welding in Pratt.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad was good friend with them, and that's how I found out. And I was like you, kind of, you know, we spent a lot of money, and to do the exact same thing again might not be the right way to go. But since I know that it wasn't done properly the first time, maybe that was the problem.
What material is that fountain? You know,
I don't remember.
I don't either. Huh?
it's cast. Cast iron or cast? Okay. Lots of cast.
Yeah. Alright, so the next one is the capital improvement water fund. This is the fund that I think that we should just keep it separate and not use it unless it's for the maintenance of the water tower and the nitrate plants. Because obviously we talked about it the last meeting, you know, it's gonna be, we're gonna have to start replacing parts and stuff like that at the nitrate plant because it's like 10-year, wasn't it, Bob, that they say? So it's coming up on that, and we're gonna, obviously, a lot of stuff is not cheap at all. So this fund, we get about average $50,000 a year in revenue go into this fund. So if we, you know, be mindful of what we spend out of this one, we actually might have enough cash to where we don't have to take the loan out to get parts replaced, or get the loan out to, you know, like redo some of the water tower problems.
So this revenue comes from the straight capital improvement, from the city
$6
bill, that's $6.
Yes, yep, so that $6 charge on every account on the city bills will go into this fund and stays in this fund. I researched back 10 years and there's really nothing was spent out of this fund. There was in 2013, there was like $120,000 spent out of it, but that's it. So I'm assuming they're saving this for maybe like the major water line work, or I don't know. I don't know the purpose of this, but I think that we should make it known to where this fund stay with the nitrate plant, or if we have a major water line problem, then we can use some of this money for that, but just be,
So it looks like we got 0% interest on the water tower work 2 years ago, 3 years ago that happened. I guess, should we be paying that out of this?
we can going forward, yeah.
I would. I mean, it seems like, because even redoing all the material at the nitrate plant is gonna be 200,000 of this. But then, you know, we still have 420,000. And if that's what it's for, then taking it out of general seems maybe not wrong or incorrect, but it seems like this would be more appropriate than out of general to pay that work that we have done at the water tower.
Well, the work from the water tower comes out of 4142,
Oh, okay.
which is the water fund.
Which is the water fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the separate, the capital
capital.
improvement,
I see,
but
but it still seems
specifically,
to me
yes.
that this would be the appropriate place to take
Right,
it from.
and I actually don't understand why we haven't been, to be honest with you, because like you said, it's obvious that this is specifically for water work. But
And you talked about at some point we're gonna look at our fees, right,
Yes.
on the water side,
yes,
because you've done some research with peers and there's a report we're gonna get at
yes.
some later in this year, right? We're looking-
Actually, it will be the next meeting, you guys, we're gonna have a rate study, which will go in deeper on the water rates, which, you'll see that comparing to the city outside, our city is really, the rate are not comparable. Our electric is because of our PCA, the power cost adjustment that we implement, while back, that kept our rates pretty comparable to city outside, but our water is way out of range as far as, the city outside goes, and excuse me, and I lost my train of thought. Yeah, but we'll talk more about that at the next meeting. Greg will be here to present everything, and then he have a couple options for you guys as far as what you wanted to do to increase the water rates. I saw one option to where, we have a 3,000 gallons base fee. So if you don't use more than 3,000 gallons is $17.45. Anything over 3,000 gallon is $5.58 per 1,000 gallon. So the options that I saw was that we lower that base fee to 2,000 gallons, and then increase. I think it's increase the $5.58 to like $7.25, I believe. But yeah, he'll talk more about that, and I think I look at that, and that might be the most logical, or like the better way to go about as far as rates go. But you guys can.
But that wouldn't, if we did that, that wouldn't affect this fund.
No, because this is just
Just
based on that $6 that you see on your utility bills alone. So if, like, let's say if we have a major water line project that's coming out that you think that, okay, in 5 years we're gonna redo all of our water main in town. So we can start looking at, okay, maybe $6 not gonna cover it. We need to look at raising it to maybe $10, or like, $8, or whatever amount might be. And then that money will stay in this fund.
This lead pipe, where's it gonna come out of if that goes ahead and goes through?
Everybody asked that at the meeting, and even KDHE don't have an answer. So I don't know. I honestly don't know, because there was a lot of question that was asked, like who's gonna pay for it if they have to replace it, They can't answer us. They said it's still in the works. They still, yeah. So it's I don't know. It makes me nervous, this whole lead and copper thing, but we'll see how it play out later. The storm sewer utilities funds, we don't really do much with it. It's the $2 that you see on your utility bills. That $2 comes in here and stays, and at the end of the year you can see that we budget to transfer $15,000 of that to the replacement, just so we can use it for, like the sewer line project that we had it done 2 years ago and stuff like that. Obviously that costs quite a bit of money, and when we get to the sewer replacement fund is not a budgeted fund, so that's why you're not seeing it here. But we are building that fund back up because of the big project with the sewer line that we did a couple of years ago. A lot of that money come from the state, the APA fund, the COVID money that we got. So half of that was paid from the state, and the other half we still have to pay for. So this right here fund that fund. So the 1% sales tax. Obviously it is set up to use for the development projects and infrastructures and stuff like that of our town, but the main reason, correct me if I'm wrong, that we set up this 1% sales tax was to help the grocery store. We are obligated for 10 years to give the grocery store $50,000 every October to help them, from this 1% sales tax. We also use this for the some of the houses that we have taken down. We have pay out of 1% as well. Like I said, it's coming up. It's gonna end in 2027. So if you guys are thinking about renewing it, we might want to look at that. Maybe get the process kind of started, because
So
it has to go through the ballot and stuff like that.
So it renews in 2027, so the fund this gets collected through 2027 then?
Yes, at the end of 2027.
Yeah.
We used a decent chunk to, when we did the sewer line project, right?
Yep.
So, decent, so
Yep.
that came out of here.
Yep, that's our half that we have to pay for that project. A big chunk comes out of this, and the other chunk came out of the sewer replacement fund.
So you said 50,000 goes to grocery store, or what's this budget for 86,000?
So 50 of that go to the grocery store, and also what we did, the TIF district, we set that up when we set up this 1% sales tax. And what that does is that when the grocery store pay the taxes for like foods and stuff like that, we get like the state sent that money back to us, and it go into this funds and stay, and then we cut a check to the grocery
end of
store.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So just like the library fund where it passed
Yes.
through,
It's
basically.
just
yep,
comes, so that's roughly another 36,000.
Right.
It's maybe
Yeah.
more or less, but
right. For 10 years though, and then after 10 years that stops as well. So,
I guess the question would be, I mean, I think the generic answer that they're gonna give is yes, but it's worth $50,000 a year, in my opinion, for the city to have a grocery store. So at the end of 2027, we lose the 1%. We're gonna have to have some sort of a campaign to the city to say, hey, please vote yes to continue the 1%. Is the grocery store, our contract ends with them in 2027 then as well? Is that 50,000 a year keeping them open? Their generic answer is probably going to be like, it definitely
Probably,
helps,
yeah.
right? But like, is it necessary to keep it open? Would be a good thing to know.
So this 50,000 goes, I think, don't they use it to help service? They help service the debt they took out, correct?
correct, for the building, yeah.
And I don't remember totally how it is, but wasn't it set up that maybe a chunk of the debt that they took on goes away after 10 years?
I'll have to ask Ryan on that one.
Because I feel like they got maybe like a USDA grant or something to where they got some longer term financing and then maybe some sort of shorter term bridge note to finish the
And this was
project.
helping them service that.
Maybe, and that's me talking about,
Right.
because I wasn't
Because you
on
weren't
when we
sure.
did this or anything
Yeah.
like that, but I almost felt like there was some sort of plan, like we're supplying the 50,000. When we're done, they have a payment that's gone, so you hope that it,
That it's not
Self-sufficient,
necessary.
yeah.
but I could totally be imagining that.
I mean, and this is something that this discussion probably needs to get into more depth, like probably towards the end of 2025, end of 2020, somewhere in 2026, we probably need to start having those discussions more seriously, bringing in key stakeholders from the grocery store and having these discussions, because there's nothing we really need to do on this until then. Right?
Because the 50 that we're doing, I guess in my opinion, really doesn't help or hinder White's Food Liner. Because White's Food Liner is paying rent to economic development. So this was to help economic development get the facility there. White's, I don't remember if they signed a long-term contract or not, but
Yeah, I wasn't a part of that, so I wasn't sure.
But like, I don't think our 50,000 does anything for White's Food Liner.
I think it's just the building part.
It was.
It helped get the building
It helped
up.
economic development get the building, which was part of the attraction to White's Food Liner to come because the facility was there for them to rent. Is how I understand it.
Well, I guess.
But if economic development can't service their debt, then that's gonna keep the facility. You know what I
Goes
mean?
away, yeah.
So I don't know how all of that
Sure.
intertwines.
I mean, I think this is 3 years down the road, but to continue the 1% sales tax fund, I think that could go towards building out Fish Street. That could go towards either updating, upgrading our pool, or new pool. I mean, this amount of money can service a large debt loan if we know that money's going to be there year in and year out if we continue it. You know what I mean? So
And it might
I think
not
it's
be a
easy
big
to justify
deal,
it
yeah.
when it comes time to renew it, but those are the types of projects that are going to have to come out for people in St. John to say, yes, I'm willing to pay an extra 1% on the things that I buy in St. John to do this, because it's going to have to be a visible project like the grocery store, because everyone can say, absolutely, we need a grocery store in this town, you know.
Not just, I'll pay 1% for you to throw it into a fund and not have a plan to use it or a
Exactly.
project. People probably
Yeah,
won't want that.
why would we do that?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it might be a good idea to think about projects now that appealing to the citizen, and then maybe use that to present comes, time to renew.
which obviously we're working on a grant with Fish Street, but that's the
Yes.
type of project that even if we had to pay for every penny of that project, this type of money per year can service a 20-year note on paving Fifth Street, and it would drastically change the lives of
look,
almost
yeah.
every citizen in St. John.
Yeah. And 1%, like on utility bills, you can hardly tell the difference. And when we implement this 1%, I thought there was gonna be a lot of backlash and stuff like that, but I did not get a single complaint, But then again, like
Sure.
the grocery store was much needed at that time, so it's just, we'll just have to be mindful of the project that we want to present to the citizen to get that passed. The sewer service fund is a utility fund that we collect through the utility bills. So the sewer rate is, the base fee is $5, and the fee on top of that, depending on how much water you use the first 3 months of the year. So in April of every year, we recalculate the rates and then update every utility account based on the usage that they're used, and that's the rate that we collected, and that's the revenue that you see here. We pay one employee out of this fund, so that's why the wages is kind of low, because there's only one, and he's actually 20% come out of this fund and 80% come out of water, because water have a lot more funds available. So obviously our sewer rate is not, obviously it's another rate that are not comparable and are lower than most cities. So we're gonna look at this as well when we do the rate study next month, and maybe we could rate this rate to increase more revenues. Obviously, if we have more available, we can do more, because when we camera our sewer line, there was a lot of attention that we, on some spot that we needed. Obviously we fixed some, but there are a lot more that we can use the money to fix and make it better. But right now, I mean, we get by for this fund. That's how I can explain it. The solid waste fund, we're also the middleman between the trash company and the citizen. So we collect the payment for residential trash, which is $22.25. So we pay the trash company $20 out of that $22, and we keep $2.25 to pay for that big dumpster by the power plant. That's the free service that we offer the community that pretty much everybody pay for. We're having problems with people from out of town using that dumpster and filling it up faster, and obviously, our citizens pay for that. So we're talking about what's the best way to come up with the solution to solve that problem, but we haven't gotten very far. So far this fund is self-sufficient. The $2.25 it's enough to cover the dumpster fee and how many times we have to dump per month. So there's no problem here. It's pretty straightforward. So
When was the last time we reviewed contract with them?
Our contract with them end next year, at the end of next year. So beginning of next year, we're gonna have to start looking and start,
See what their contract renewal would be.
Correct. yeah,
Something would be.
yeah. I know that Nicely have been coming in, checking in, wanting to submit the bid as well. So once, you know, next year, we'll start asking for bids and then see what's out there for us.
Is there, would there ever be an opportunity, I mean, ultimately what you're saying is we're a pass-through to Unruh on this fund, but you're taking time to do it, we're running it through our utility billing and software and mailing and all of that. So is there an opportunity for $1 administrative fee that some of that can go towards, whether it's software services for the billing or to Lara's salary, you know, a portion of it could go towards administrative
Sure,
like duties
yeah.
of that would kind of,
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's an accurate way of splitting a fund because you're taking resources, city resources that we're not really being paid for as a pass-through.
right. Yeah, it's definitely up to us, like that $2.50, we actually, like, you know, we came up with that. It's not like the accountant or anything like that. When we first come up with that $2, we were gonna look and see if that's even enough to have that dumpster there, how many times we have to dump it. So if it wasn't, then we were gonna raise it.
Sure.
So yeah, that's an option that we
I
can
mean, I
look
think it would be
at.
an accurate way to budget. It maybe complicates it because then all of a sudden you're splitting salaries between more funds, but I think that would be an accurate way to actually do it, which would represent our general fund better too.
Sure, yeah, and we can even do that, and at the end of the year, transfer like $5,000 to the general fund to help.
Or,
Yeah, so that's an option for us to look at. If that's what you guys wanted to do, we can definitely look into that.
When we're looking at our rate thing next time, is that strictly just water, or is that gonna be?
Utilities, but
Just-
is this
But
considered
this-
utility?
no,
No.
sorry,
So
not the
but we can
trash.
talk about that separately after he's gone, or he'll have a
Sure,
lot
yeah.
of information. But
Yeah, he may even know something about that because he's looked at everybody's rates.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we can do the rates increase all at once. We can look at all of it and be like, hey, this is what we want to do. Let's just do it all in one ordinance and be done with it. I mean, that's our option.
Yeah.
Our biggest fund is water and light, obviously. That's our utility funds. I kind of have a breakdown of what we collected throughout the year. Obviously, some year we did better than others. It's pretty, you know, cut and dry. The 4140, that pays for pretty much this office, you know, all the billing system, all of you guys' salary, Lara's salary come out of that. And anything, all the permits that we have to get and stuff like that coming out of this fund. The light production and light distribution, really, there's really not that much different. Money are there in most funds for, like, let's say if Curtis needs to buy like 100 poles to, you know, like let's say a storm go through and say knocked out our town and he needs to buy that, he can combine those budget between the two funds and use that fund to purchase those materials. I actually think it's a lot more complicated to separate between light production and light distribution. I don't know why it was set up the way it was, but I mean, we're used to it, so it's fine to leave it the way it is. And obviously the budget, the proposed budget numbers is based on how much revenue we brought in and how much expense we paid out and stuff like that. So, this fund is very self-efficient, so there's not much worries, or there's not much,
It was probably set up like that when they were running the power plant full-time.
it's a possibility, yes.
Because there'd be a lot of expense on the production.
What is the revenue saved from Midwest Energy? What is that?
So back 2-3 years ago, we signed a contract with Midwest Energy that if we can be on the standby, right, Curtis? If we are on a standby to where, like, if they need power, we can generate and then help them out, then they give us a break on our utility bills that we bought from Midwest Energy, and that's the money that we save each year. So it was really good program. It's pretty much paid for our engine, the new
the
engine.
cat
And that was kind of the part of the
reasoning behind doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Or else we would
hopefully in a way
never-
it'll sustain itself
Yeah.
by servicing the payment. It'll be
Yeah.
an investment improvement down there
Yeah.
in the future.
No, totally.
In fact, when that electricity went up astronomical, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, in Texas in that wintertime, we generated and it paid the whole electric bill for the city of St. Louis.
Yeah, we got like $100,000 credit that
Just for
kept
running.
us by. Yeah,
Running.
for running. Yeah.
I don't know, 2 weeks or 3 or 4,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was.
And after all the wages and the fuel that we used, we still made like $60,000.
Wow.
So it was a good program.
I think we looked at, we had bought fuel super cheap
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
in
year.
2020 when it was so low, and so
Yeah.
it was worked out.
It works out really well for us. Hopefully we can continue to do this. I honestly, this was done not way before. I wasn't much involved in this, so I don't know how long this contract, lasted. I'll have to do a little more research, and
Seems like 10 years, but maybe.
I thought it was 10 years too, but I'll have to
I think that's
look
correct.
at that for sure. If there's a way for us to renew that contract, I would definitely jump on it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
also done a contract on solar one point in time also. Remember that?
Oh, we started it, but it didn't get nowhere.
Oh, it didn't?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I didn't know
No. No, I think Greg advised against it, and then we just left it at that. Or was that wind energy? That might have been a turbines.
that. That was the wind energy, I think.
Yeah, I one of those Greg is our energy consultant.
He's super.
Yeah, and he's advised against that. I think it would be more damaging to the city as far as budgets and stuff goes than it would make city money. So
Because there was an incentive from Midwest to like put in something.
that I don't
I can't remember the
Yeah, I
whole deal
can't.
on it.
Yeah, I can't remember on that one. So, yeah, but there's not much to talk about as far as water and light go. Like I said, there's plenty of revenue to reimburse the fund to where we're not gonna have to worry. Obviously, the last couple of years we have spent quite a bit out of 41, the light production and light distribution to get the CAT project generators going and get it. We were having trouble with what was that company that comes in? KMU, yeah. That comes in and do all the wiring and stuff like that. They were just dragging their feet, and we actually went over budget a little bit as far as their fees and stuff like that. But obviously we have the money to pay them. It's just that it sucks that we went over what we wanting to pay, but at that point we didn't have a choice. So
Was that because one of them head honchos, the old guy died or
yes,
something?
yep. And then they were backed up on work, and then when they're here, Jeff wasn't very happy with them at all, because it just seems like they're not working at the speed that they should be for the amount of money that we pay them. So he wasn't happy, but we got it done. I mean, there's still a little bit of stuff that we have to do, but Curtis can do that, so we don't need to get them back. So, and the last fund that we're gonna look at is the equipment reserve fund. I have it break down into each department and what we have budget to transfer into that department each year. And I don't see the need to increase these amount of the transfer amount this year, just for the fact that we are trying to build our cash back up. I mean, these amount are sufficient enough to get these fund by, and obviously, you know, like the police department, all of their vehicles are new, so there's no need for one just yet and stuff like that. This is where if you are planning on, obviously, like I wish we have the strategic planning, because if you look at all of our equipment, it's pretty old and it's all gonna break down at the same time. You know, obviously it costs a lot of money, and I feel like we need to come up with a plan to where, okay, in the next 2 years we're gonna replace the grader, and in the next 5 years we're gonna replace another, you know, like equipment, because all of our, except Jason's vehicle, like the vehicle that Les is driving is like, how old is it?
85.
Yeah, so it is pretty outdated, and it's actually costing us money to keep it, and as far as repairs and stuff go. So we definitely need to be looking at a plan to replace some of those equipments before they all break down at the same time and we have to spend $1 million replacing them all. So we might want to look at that and come up with something in the next year or two. And the bucket trucks also need to be replaced, because it can't reach some of the poles that are higher. So be thinking about that, and one of these days when we're not too busy, we're all gonna get together and maybe come up with a list of what needed to be replaced right away and stuff like that, and then we can look at the money and go from there.
So do we keep an inventory of our equipment, year, how much we spent on it every year? Do we keep
Not
any
how
sort
much
of-
we spent. I mean, I can kind of tell you how much we spent, like ballpark of it,
Sure.
but we have a list of what we have as far as inventories go, because the insurance purposes, but
Yeah. Might be good to have, you know, Jason, Curtis, yourself sit down and go through that equipment list. And really just kind of ballpark, you know, if we have the list, you know, add miles or hours to next to it for the list, so that we know, you know, starting this year. Because then if we keep that list active every year, we can see that, well, we put 400 hours a year on the grader, you know, we put, or whatever it is, whatever the number would be, then we would also have an idea of, like, we're generally gonna buy used stuff, probably,
Right.
at our city our size, but it would also give us an idea of, like, okay, are we putting 1,000 hours on this piece of equipment a year, so it might be worth getting something with less hours, or are we putting 50 hours a year on this thing, and when we replace it, you know, getting something that has, you know,
yeah.
higher hours, but we
Right.
trust it, you know, it might
Yeah.
be worth
Well, the
seeing
next,
that
the
data.
next one is gonna have to be a bucket truck. It's got to be.
Sure, and that's
Yeah.
fine. And then we can also rank them on highest priority too, and just
Yeah,
say
he'd be the highest.
this is what we
Curtis
need.
would be.
So
We really need a plan for that, because our equipment, like I said, it's old, and when Mel was here, he's pretty conserved as far as spending money and stuff like that goes. I just think that it's gonna get to a point where, you know, enough of spending money to repair it, let's just get rid of it and get something new. Not new, newer, I should say newer.
yeah,
I
So,
think the faster we get a list, the faster we can start working, because we need that
right,
equipment, because these guys can't do their job.
right. Yeah, so that would be something that we definitely going to look at and sit down together. So that's pretty much all of the funds and the budget that the city have. the next part is if there's any projects that you guys are interested in and wanting to maybe look into budgeting for, it would be a good time to bring it up, obviously between now and before, whenever we have to publish,
When will we
the
get
final budget.
Our revenue neutral rate
June 15 is the latest that the county
can
can,
publish it
Yep.
to us. And then we have till August.
correct.
So,
Well, if we're gonna if we're gonna exceed the R&R, then we have to let the county clerk know by July 15th.
but we have a month
Yes.
from when we know.
But
then-
if we're gonna stay at the rate, then we have until August 20th published.
So what's the timeline with Adams Brown? Like, do we
Um,
wait until we know the R&R for them to do their work through of the budget?
So I already started the budgeting process. I almost have it complete. So I can, when I'm done, I can send that over and have her look it over. And then once she get the rates, she can like do her stuff and then send it back like within a week if she's not busy.
So, the end of the month, or the first meeting in July, you'll have that sent to
Well,
us.
no, yeah.
And we can look it over and see how much we're gonna exceed or not exceed or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It might be good, just because the R&R goes back, the sooner that we can get equipment lists and priority, the better, because if we can add that to
next year
2025's
budget, yeah.
budgets to higher transfers to those equipment reserve funds for those planned expenses, then we increase the revenue neutral rate for 2025. Then that
Save more
backtracks to the future, you know, where we're saying that we're looking at 2025 where we've already planned for that. Then we stop going above the revenue neutral rate sooner because we've already planned. We've already said this is a need for our city. This is why we're going above it. Then in the future we don't have to go above it because we've already planned for it. Yeah, so if we can do it to this budget, that would be ideal. I know that's a very short.
I mean, it
Time
won't be
frame, but-
hard, but that's my goal at least, to get that list going. And if anything, have one equipment that for sure wanting to replace and put it in 25 budget for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
So
the
what's
bucket truck-
an adequate bucket truck cost?
100+,
100 plus. Is that new or used?
used,
Used.
you're looking probably at 100 to 130.
Okay.
I'll know some better figures tomorrow, I got a guy calling tomorrow.
Okay. So I mean, I don't know that we can transfer that in 1 year to that fund,
Probably not.
but that's a good idea of if that's what needs to be bought first.
Yeah.
But
So, when you said you know, earlier when we spoke, if we have ideas about what we want to budget for, to me, we got to get this infrastructure stuff done. I mean, 'cause what are our goals? Maintain city codes, have the city look good, streets are done. Only thing I could think of is sidewalks, but that's more code enforcement for the homeowner to repair the sidewalks. I mean, if we want the city to look good, I think aesthetically, and
Curbs
we
would
have
be
to be
rough.
able to keep
I
that
was gonna say
curbs.
curb and
Curbs are
guttering
pretty
is
rough.
pretty, it's what I would like to see around our town. I think it would really improve the look of our town, but obviously that's
A lot of money.
a lot of money.
Maybe we can just budget it out, east and west streets, north, you know, it's an ongoing project.
It's-
So that's sort of what I thought of. Then Cammie told me a good idea. Her sister lives in Beatrice, Nebraska, and they started this program because pickleball is really big. It's a bigger city up there. But they started something where people can round up their utility bill to the next dollar, and it goes to the Parks and Recs fund.
Oh,
And that paid for tennis courts being changed over to pickleball courts. And it's just something, like if I had that option to pay my utility, I'd do it. Because I know I'd be going back to
something to improve
the city.
what
So-
is the pickleball court? What is the
What's going on?
I
Yeah.
got the updates, but
Yeah,
I
update.
I can't
Say during
publicly
this-
presenting it yet because they haven't signed a contract yet, and
Okay.
Brian specifically told us that
Can't-
not
can't
to
say.
publicly say anything until they sign a contract. So,
Okay.
but they're making progress.
It's in action.
Yes.
Well, I don't remember what the original timeline was.
Oh, it's
It
way
was-
past it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's way past it.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's still in the works.
yep, it's actually pretty close of getting it, of being done.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And the plan is, as presented, it's still that,
The
the
wrap.
old tennis courts.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Groundwork.
Yep.
Okay.
So hopefully that's get done before summers, you
So
know.
maybe you can get that
and-
little idea going before the increase.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that that's a good idea to round up the utility bills. I might have to talk to Danny about how to go about doing that. I mean, like
as-
20 cents not gonna hurt anybody, you know, so,
Helps out.
yeah,
That's an interesting idea.
yeah, I like that. Anyways, if you guys don't have anything else, we have 15 minutes before the regular council meeting, so if you wanna talk some more about it, we're more than welcome to. If not, we need to
So-
adjourn the meeting.
The next step is wait for the county.
Yeah, the rate, yeah, the assessed value, and then we can set the R&R rate and then go from there.
So what, are we gonna talk about the next meeting you said?
Yes, well,
The next
Or-
meeting,
If-
1st of July.
1st of July
Oh,
would be
okay.
definitely, we'll talk
First
more
meeting
about
in
it.
July,
Gotcha.
we'll know.
I thought
Yeah.
you meant like the next meeting.
Oh, no, it
Oh, okay.
probably won't be.
That'd be pretty
That
quick,
way.
cause
Yeah.
it'd be the 18th, so that'd be 3 days after the county releases.
Yeah,
it's
so she
not
probably
realistic.
can't get that done,
Okay,
so.
Yeah.
I'm ready to.
Do you guys have any projects that you feel like need to be,
Well, the main one is, like I said, the curb and gutter for Main Street.
for Main
And that's
Street
gonna be a
specifically?
chunk of dough.
Yeah.
That's gonna be some money. But what do, you know, that's why I'm saying that's my main one, is just to, let's see, get that curb and gutter going on that, and then when we get that far, then we'll move to the next one. But that's the one I like to see done, cause I really don't wanna do that street, because it's so broke up, I'll knock half the curb out when I
Well, maybe,
Yeah.
start thinking
it's
that.
like, maybe we can get some estimates and just see what's ahead of us,
Yeah.
just like everything else.
It will be
Yes.
expensive.
Yeah,
It was 200 a couple years ago.
right.
To do all of it,
All paid from here.
just from the square.
Yeah, it's not even like the whole Main Street
I
down
was gonna say
to
that
the end of
seems
the
like enough to
street,
do.
no,
From Main Street North,
Yep.
Yeah.
All of Maine from 3rd to
yeah.
9th.
maybe that's what we do. I know it's a lot of money and it's scary, but it's not gonna get cheaper, you know what I mean? So, just peck away at it.
Was that just one bid from?
That was
Chris?
Chris.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, I don't think it was even a formal bid, it was
It's
just,
just-
what do you think? And
That's
I
what
think
it
he kinda halfway measured it and it did what concrete was then and what it would be, and
Yeah.
it was just roughly 200.
Yeah, it wasn't an actual bid.
No,
Yeah.
no, we just were,
Just an idea.
it's just been a problem
curious,
for a
yeah.
while.
So for clarity, we'll get as much as you can, try to get the equipment list, and so we can budget that in and then get that moving.
And we can always, have Chris go and maybe do like from 4th Street up to like, I don't know, 9th Street and see how much it's gonna be for this year. And then do from 4th Street down to 1st Street next year. If, like I said, we're not doing any road work, so we can carry that $269,000 over to 25, which is gonna be on top of what we're gonna be collecting this year. So we might actually have enough money to do curb and gutter, like the first chunk of it, you know, and not having to take a loan out or it's damaging any other fund. So,
I'm gonna mention something, you can tell me if this is the right time to mention it, but it has to do with salaries. They're just, something they mentioned in a seminar I went to is these municipalities, they're losing people because they're not paying as much. So people are taking on additional jobs, so they're getting job enlargement versus job enrichment. So their advice is when this starts happening, maybe paying, this is what they threw out, half of what you were gonna pay that position if you had hired somebody. And I think that's something that we need to start looking at versus somebody burning out by having too much to work versus hiring a person. And if they're not getting compensated for it, then what's the incentive for them to get that job done? Because there's some ownership if they're getting paid for it.
Right. We, as far as our wages go, we're actually above the average as far as our city, our size goes, as far as wages go. But obviously, you know, like, some of our employees are getting paid lower, but if comparing position to positions, they still getting paid more than the city our size pay other people. So, but yeah, I mean, I
See,
agree.
I'm okay with that, but at the same time, if we don't have good people,
Yes.
you wanna keep them.
Yes, that's, I mean, and that's why, you know, like our handbook allow 3% when we do evaluation. And that's why we've been giving them like more than 3%. Like last time we have the evaluation, we gave less, like $1 instead of the 3%, which is like 25 cents or 26 cents or something like that. So yeah, I mean, we're
That's just
starting
something
to
we need
do
to think
that.
about.
Yes, we're definitely starting to do that, but obviously that's would also, we'll have to look at how much money we have available, how much revenue we brought in for that year as well. But yeah, if there's budget room, then I have no problem, you know,
Right.
allocate some of those funds to our employees, or even maybe get some more incentive as far as like, cause the city provide $10,000 life insurance to all of our full-time employee. Maybe up that to 30,000, or you know, like instead of the employee paying 15% on health insurance, maybe do like a 90-10, or even the city pay 100% as the incentive.
Okay.
That
These are
would
things
be
we can just
sure.
open a
Yeah,
conversation with.
yeah.
That's all I have. Bob?
If you're done talking or wanna
We're about
adjourn,
running out of
then it's
time.
up to you.
I'd make a motion to adjourn the 2025 budget workshop.
Got a motion on the table and a second to adjourn, all in favor? All opposed?